समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. When we turn away from light, what we see in front of us is the darkness of our shadow. When we turn away from our true infinite self, we see the projection of our ego. When we turn away from happiness, what we see in front of us or experience is sorrow. We all want happiness, everlasting happiness. And the scriptures are clear, and if we logically think that only that which is infinite can be happiness. In the finite, there is no happiness. Because where there is finite, there is a sense of incompleteness. Where there is incompleteness, there will always be this craving. And the craving makes us agitated and disappointed, etc., as we have been hearing all these days from Sri Krishna. Yovai bhuma tat sukham. That which is infinite alone is happiness. In the finitude, there is no everlasting happiness. In fact, there is no sense of happiness, but we can have excitements as well as disappointments, and therefore joy and sorrow. And that does not give us the sense of fulfillment. The whole Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna, from the starting to the ending, as a true lover of the universe, whose only wish is to remove our sorrows. And from its cause itself. It starts with asochan anvasochastvam pragyavadascha bhashase, that you have grieved for that which you should not grieve for. Therefore choose not to be miserable. And in the ending also, Krishna says, do not grieve, O Arjuna, and through Arjuna to all of us. For really, there is no reason to be miserable. Sorrow is because of our delusion. Moha causes shoka, sorrow. Therefore, do not grieve. To bring our mind to our infinite self, no doubt we have to turn away that mind from that which is temporary, changing, modifying. And what our mind thinks, our mind also takes that form. And thus our minds are always wavering. And in that constant change, where can there be constant happiness? Therefore, having explained Bhagwan to Arjuna that this entire universe is an expression of that one infinite truth or reality. And therefore, all the names and forms are the expression of that one. The infinite existence, consciousness, bliss alone is appearing as this entire universe of names and forms. And therefore, even when our mind, which is extrovert, is seeing the multiplicity and the plurality with the right knowledge and with devotion, when in the entire universe we see the expression of that one truth, that one Lord only, and see the whole universe as His form. And whatever we do, for whoever we do, it is an offering for the Lord only. And whatever we get is from that Lord. This attitude that we keep, and even if we just see it materialistically, we are part of this totality, and in our progress, the totality progresses. And when the totality progresses, our progress is natural. And therefore, we cannot be independent from the totality. And when you see that unity in that diversity, that sense of peace, that fearlessness, that acceptance, and that wonder that we experience, that even life becomes wonderful. And therefore, Bhagwan instructs and says, Mayyeva mana adatsva, Mayi buddhim niveshaya, Nivasishyasi mayyeva, Atha urdhvam na samshaya. Mayi eva mana adatsva. What keeps us away from the truth, from the vision of seeing the one Lord in everything, keeps us away from that source of infinite, unending happiness, is our mind only. Therefore, Bhagwan says, Mai, that which is the self of all and which is expressing as the whole universe of multiplicity, see me at all times, do all your actions for me. Naturally, your mind will be in me. And therefore, place your mind in me. Mayi eva mana adatsva. Place your mind in me. Mind is the seat of our emotions, and it is here where we have our sankalpa, vikalpa, our thoughts to do or not to do. We have in this mind. And when we think about the changing world, we always think about various options. But when single pointed, mind rests in the self which is the self in all, in that Ishvara, in that Lord. Place your mind in me. And when there is love for anything or anyone, our mind cannot stop thinking of the person or the thing we love. And therefore, mayeva mana adatsva. Bring all your emotions, your thoughts to me. Bring all your feelings to me. In fact, even your expectations and hopes, when they are in that one who is capable of fulfilling all our needs and wants. Mayeva mana adatsva. Keep your mind in me. Mai buddhim niveshaya. Let your mind be, let your intellect, which discriminates, which can understand, which can inquire, which can hold on to ideals, that intellect which has got faith, shraddha, that intellect, place it in me. Because even for the intellect, what can be more fascinating, what challenging can be, what else can be challenging than to delve, to inquire into that which is infinite. Everything else is just relative. It changes. Knowing anything about that which is constantly changing is not even worth knowing. It's just enough to know that everything that we experience is changing. To fathom with the intellect that which is infinite. And when the intellect dwells in that, bring your intellect to me. Or in the language of devotion, be devoted to me, love me. What you love, you seek. What you love, you constantly place your mind in that, or that person is completely in your mind. And with your intellect, hold me as your ideal, your goal. And the reasons for our agitations of mind, lack of knowledge, and wrong actions, as well as sorrows, is due to this disintegration of our mind and intellect. When these two inner equipment of ours are in conflict with each other, mind carried away by its likes, dislikes, emotions, attachments to the world of objects, and the intellect that can judge, know the consequences, know what is right, wrong, know what is permanent, impermanent. If our intellect thinks in a particular manner and our mind gets attached to something else, there is a divorce within ourselves. There's conflict within ourselves. And where there is conflict and battle within, where can there be peace and happiness? Mind finds many things to think about. Intellect can hold on to one ideal or goal. When what we admire, we love. And sometimes we love something but we don't admire that person. But when your love and admiration are both for the same ideal, for that higher, it becomes devotion. When there is love in the heart and there is firm faith in the intellect, the capacity to understand and hold on to that which you know is noble, great, mighty, infinite, then when both mind and intellect are integrated, such a mind and intellect integrated is what is called as a contemplative heart. And there arises a synergy where that power of knowing beyond the limited capacity of our mind and intellect arises. In common language, people call it as intuition, but intuition has now carried with its many connotations. But that by which we can go beyond the present understanding and experiences. And that mind, which can only see through the senses what is outside, can come to know that knowledge which removes our ignorance, and we come to discover our infinite nature. And such an integrated mind and intellect are like the two wings in harmony with each other. That flight in meditation is possible. One arm stunted, one wing stunted, there is motion, but only in a circle, flight does not take place. Therefore, Bhagavan says, bring your mind and intellect, your love and your admiration, your feelings and your inquiry to me alone, the self of all, including yours and mine. Bring your mind to the self. And that which is your own self, it is your mind only that projects this world outside. And therefore Bhagavan says, Nivasishyasi mai eva. You will then reside in me, the infinite. You will know yourself if you are devoted to the totality, that you are in the lapse of the totality. Nivasishyasi mayeva, because it is the truth. Atha urdhvam na samshaya. Have no doubt about it. In fact, herein lies the secret of success, even to reach your goal. Very often we set a goal in our intellect. We plan and we are inspired by it. But our mind, because of its desires, its wants, its attachments, distracts us because of the pleasure of the senses, which are immediate. And when there's this disintegration of personality, it is difficult to focus and to be dedicated to reach our goal. Here is the great grand secret of success, where mind and intellect integrated single-pointedly aims, works towards a goal, it is bound to discover it. Thus, beautiful instruction by Krishna. And if you keep your mind and intellect in the infinite, you recognize that you are the infinite. You are in the infinite, if that's easy to understand. But to bring this integration, those set of disciplines and values, and here we understand the importance of positive values. When we have those values that are conducive to integrate our mind and intellect and to bring about a sense of peace, then we find that peace and happiness within ourselves. And to attain this infinite, what is that prerequisite? And Bhagavan says, Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvair vimukta sukha dukkha sangaihi gacchantya mudha padamavyayam tat. To abide in our infinite self, we have to free ourselves from our self-limiting beliefs and notions that we have. First and foremost is about ourselves only. Therefore, Bhagavan says, Nirmana. Be free of this false self-limiting estimation of yourself. We might say that our ego is there because we think ourselves to be greater, mightier. But just like a frog in the well, however he jumps from one small well to a bigger well, or even puffs himself up to look big, is nowhere compared. Neither the well is compared to the vastness of the ocean. Not even millions of wells can create the give the idea of the vastness of the ocean, nor a puffed up frog can understand that how this vast ocean accommodates in itself such huge creatures like the whales, much bigger than that frog. Nirmana. Be free of this false, limited notion of yourself, born out of your identity with the limited equipments. Nirmana. How do we free ourselves from it? First and foremost, recognize that whatever we have has been given to us. And if we count our blessings and have gratitude and ask ourselves, what really have we achieved on our own? This is for our daily introspection, as Gurudev would point out. And our spiritual sadhana or practice is to achieve this. And therefore, in our introspections, we must regularly inquire into when we had this ego, arrogance, why, how, and how to reduce this false estimation. First and foremost, after inquiring what have I done, is to have that attitude that I am the servant of the Lord. Because we cannot give up our identity. So have that identity that will remove all our arrogance, pride, ego. In that identity, just as the devotee Sutakshan has said, As abhiman jahi jani bore, main sevak raghupati pati more. When I consider myself to be the servant of the Lord, and then recognize that His will plays through me and I am just an instrument. Reduce this ego and be free of this man. And to the extent we are free of this limited ego, this arrogance, this pride, to that extent there is that contentment and self-satisfaction. Same way, our false estimation of the world and its happenings, thinking that the world will be permanently giving me happiness, these are all called as moha or delusion. And because of that, we get attached to that from which we expect joy, happiness, and permanence. Therefore, jita sanga dosha. Free yourself from this dosha, this evil, this fault of attachment. And attachment is our dependence on something else for our happiness. And then when we have given our strings or we have tied our strings of attachments to anything, then according to its changing state or according to the change of moods of others, we experience joy and sorrow and we become dependent, and whatever we become dependent upon will create anxieties, worries. At the same time, expectations will create disappointments, sorrow, and therefore is the cause of many evil and faults. Therefore, jita sanga dosha, this limitation that comes about because of our attachment. And therefore introspect daily. How much dependent are we still to the world of objects, to the world of people, and to the different situations to be conducive to us to be happy? How we limit our happiness. Free ourselves from that dependence, and we can be happy here and now. Otherwise, our happiness depends on things, beings, and situations, and at the same time, they can make us dance to their tune. And such dependence, when it is there is no freedom to be happy. So, jita sanga doshaha. Now, giving up is not easy unless you attach to something higher. And therefore, adhyatma nitya. Don't keep on just thinking about the imperfections in the world or in the people or yourself. Otherwise, when we get attached and dependent, we find faults in others, and there's the blame game that others are giving us sorrow. Adhyatma nitya. Constantly inquire, meditate, and hold on to that peace, that happiness which is within you, your own nature. Inquire into the self and in a way measure how self-sufficient are you in your happiness, and how much do you depend on the changing factors of the universe for your happiness. And when we find that inner peace and happiness, vinivritta kamaha, free of desire to get happiness in the future from limited objects. Vinivritta kamaha, free from that lust and obsessive desire. And how do we free ourselves? Dvandvair vimuktaha. If there is no desire for any object which we think we like and is going to give us happiness, we become free from the pairs of opposites. The whole universe is experienced as a pair of opposites. And when we are free from it, which means unaffected by the happenings in the world, dvandvair vimuktaha, and therefore sukha dukkha sangaihi. And when we are not affected by these pairs of opposites due to our delusory likes and dislikes, we are free from these expectations of joy and sorrow from the world of objects. And the world of objects cannot limit us, cannot limit our happiness by the notion that the world is giving us joy and sorrow. And the mind does not fluctuate in this joy and sorrow. And such a person, amudhaha, one who is free of delusions, gacchanti padam avyayam tat, reaches that padam, tat padam, which is avyayam, which has got no decline in that happiness, no change, no end. That happiness is our nature. Free yourself from these limitations, Shri Krishna says, and you shall indeed abide in me, the supreme bliss. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thus, bring your mind in devotion to my altar. Thereafter, with your rational intellect, pierce through it, meaning come to contact the ideal that the idol represents. When I am looking at the picture of my girlfriend, I am looking at the piece of paper, but I am seeing in my intellect that vivacious, stupid girl far away. Is it not? In the same way, bring your intellect to contemplate upon me, who is represented in the idol, which the mind is hugging on. Ata urdhvam, thereafter, when you are both your mind, emotional and rational thoughts have quietened itself at the altar, with no other thoughts in your mind. Nivasishyasi mayeva, you merge, you move, glide into my state of consciousness. Ata urdhvam, thereafter. Na samshaya, there is no doubt about it. Because it is not something rational that you can give the reasoning. It is beyond the intellect. is the experience of the great masters. That if you can quieten all your emotional and rational thoughts exclusively of Him, you glide from your present state of consciousness effortlessly into this new dimension. You may call it as God's state of consciousness.
One of the greatest, grandest visionary projects of Gurudev that has come into manifestation just recently is the Chinmaya Vishwa Vidyapeeth or Chinmaya University. Many of you know about it and have been well-wishers for this university. We have brought out a number of videos for you to know more about the university. Please view it. Go on to the website and know more about the university and how you can be part of this great grand vision of Gurudev and how you can contribute for it. Hari Om.
A young man born into poverty in India carefully penned incredible new discoveries and mailed them to mathematician G.H. Hardy at the University of Cambridge. The letter closed, "Being poor, if you are convinced that there is anything of value, I would like to have my theorems published. Yours truly, Srinivasa Ramanujan." Ramanujan intuitively drew upon ancient Indian knowledge systems that enabled him to observe whole mathematical theories in his mind. This capacity, coupled with Hardy's Western scientific approach, changed the world of mathematics forever. A century later, the legacy of Ramanujan continues to influence mathematics and even black holes, a concept that was not even discovered at the time. Now imagine an educational institution that fused ancient Indian wisdom with Western cutting-edge university practices. How many more stories like Ramanujan's would we see? Consider a Bachelor of Commerce course with management insights from the Bhagavad Gita, combined with daily meditation and subjects focused on multiplying impact for the greater good. Or perhaps an LLM in legal theory that draws on ethical and moral dimensions from great epics such as the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Well, this is precisely what the newly founded Chinmaya University offers. For centuries, Indian intelligentsia have made enormous contributions to math, science, politics, linguistics, performing arts, economics, architecture, medicine, and more, often many, many centuries before similar discoveries were made anywhere else in the world. For instance, we all knew Copernicus first discovered that the Earth revolves around the Sun in the 16th century, right? Wrong. It was the Indian mathematician and astronomer Aryabhatta who first figured it out. He determined the Earth was round and that we orbited the Sun some 1,000 years before Copernicus was even born. So many of these advancements have been based on the ancient Indian knowledge systems, rooted in the Sanskrit language and preserved, studied, and developed over millennia. At its core, these systems gave individuals a formidable understanding of the power of their mind by revealing mankind's limitless potential. They unleashed some of the most complex and creative ideas in our history. This incredible system and the vast treasure trove of knowledge that it unlocks is what is being revived and taught at Chinmaya University, a vision of the great Vedantic master of the 20th century, Puja Swami Chinmayananda. By combining the deep insights of the past with latest independent thinking and expert instruction, Chinmaya University will help to create a new generation of global leaders. Leaders who are vibrant, humble, inspiring, and successful. Leaders who won't merely think outside the box, but discard the boundaries altogether to drive genuinely disruptive and positive innovations. And most importantly, leaders with compassion and curiosity, who truly believe their progress is intertwined with the progress for all. This is an ambitious approach, but history shows incredible feats can be achieved with the right foundation. The Brihadishwara temple, built in the year 1010, used ancient Indian architectural acumen to construct one of the tallest temple towers on earth. The taller the building, the loftier the ambitions, then the stronger the foundations need to be. And from there, anything is possible. Together we can build the foundations of a different kind of future. A future that we together want to live in and share with generations to come. Find out more about how you can be part of history in bringing the best of our past to enrich our future.